So I'm talking here with Phil Cramer. He is the man behind the project called Steele Creek. That is Steele with an extra E on the end. He put out a new album called A Long Way From Home, and we'll be doing two themes today. The first of which is the title almost, A Long Way From Home, about leaving and reinvention and how that works and how it doesn't. So the first song you heard today was Florida. Phil, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on the program, Trevor.
Do you think it is really possible to leave home and get a true fresh start and reinvent yourself?
There are many people who have tried, certainly. And I think I tried too. You know, I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I went to school up in your neck of the woods, up in Poughkeepsie, went to college up there, and then after school moved down to New Orleans because I think there are many wonderful places in the United States, but I think there's more culture per square inch in New Orleans than just about anywhere else, and I knew that's where I needed to be. Is it possible to reinvent yourself by going somewhere new? I think it's possible to grow in so many ways by going somewhere new and by traveling, by seeing new places. I've certainly grown so much by being here in New Orleans. And I think it's also true that if you're moving to outrun your demons, they're going to follow you there too, you know? And so I think maybe that's where the, believing you can cross the border over into some new place and all of a sudden be a new person or be freed from those things that were dragging you down. You know, I think if you're gonna take that journey, that's a journey that has to happen inside of yourself. At least that's been my experience, you know.
Very nuanced answer. That is exactly what I like on this show. What was your experience?
You mean sort of what led to the experience that led to this song?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that I reached an age where a lot of my friends who maybe had moved here around the same time, or even who grew up here, were now making the decision that in order to advance in their careers or in order to become who they wanted to become, that they needed to leave. They were going to grad school or they were moving away for jobs or, you know, all that kind of thing. And I think I was feeling, oh man, if I'm going to take it to the next level here, you know, do I need to go somewhere else too? And I think, there's certainly instances where that's true, and going to grad school and doing that kind of thing can be a very transformative experience. I think for me, what I realized was that I was losing a lot of time that way. I was losing a lot of time thinking about, man, if only I were in Nashville, for example, right? Or I'm a big fan of the music scene they have up there in kind of Durham, Chapel Hill, the Carolina Triangle, and thinking, man, if only I were there, then I'd be, it'd be happening. And I think I realized, no, I need to, maybe that'll happen someday, but I need to put in my work right now, and I need to sit down and write these songs. You know, Florida was actually the first song that was written out of this batch for the record. And I don't think I knew completely what it meant to me when I wrote it. And then over the course of writing all the other songs, I realized, you wrote the answer to yourself in the first song, that it's here. It's putting in the work and showing up, and doing the growing that you need to do. And that was the right answer for me. It might not be the right answer for everybody, but that was the right answer for me.
Now that you've put in the work and made a real solid album, I enjoyed it a lot. Do you think that moving to one of those areas to, sort of get the exposure that may be a little harder to get in New Orleans? Now that you've put in the work and have material to show off, could moving make more sense?
I don't think so now. I think that was a foil that I set up for myself. I wouldn't be opposed to it if the right opportunity came along, of course. I'm not averse to doing that, but I think that it's so easy to believe, especially as a creative person, it's so easy to get sidetracked and to think, God, if only I had the right guitar, I could write this song, or if only I had the right notebook to write down my thoughts in, then I could really get started, and I think that extends to being somewhere else too. I think we are in kind of a unique position where the pandemic came along at just the time that we were sort of starting to venture out there, and it really got cut off. And that's why we transitioned into recording, and we started doing that. And so, this summer we're going to be looking to tour outside of New Orleans and outside of the region and really get this music out there. And I think that'll be the real test, that'll be the real, the moment where we see, how does this play beyond this city and beyond this region.
You also present almost, what I like is, I think that you have a song on the album, Come On Home, that is the other side of Florida. That on one song you have someone leaving to escape their demons, and on another song you have people left behind by someone with demons. And I like that you can see, both how it's going for one person and how it's going for the other, even if they're not necessarily the same character. But what's it like for the people left behind?
That is really fascinating. I love that. So Come On Home was written for my grandmother, and Jesse, who is mentioned in the song, the chorus of the song goes, "Come on home, Jesse, come on home." And he was her father, so my great-grandfather. And he left the family when she was maybe 9, 10 years old, and she literally never saw him again. And so I heard about him a little bit here and there, mostly described as sort of a scoundrel, which, fair enough. And then at some point, I was doing some research into family history and dug up a picture of his gravestone. And like I say, my grandmother had not heard from him in, almost 80 years at this point, and had no closure around that relationship. And I showed her this picture, and all of a sudden her whole aspect changed. And she said, he was a great daddy before he left. And it was such like I say, such a transformation in that moment. And I think it was the duality of that. This Jesse character who leaves, could have had such a positive and such a negative impact, I guess would be a really simplistic way to put it. But that was what I really was trying to capture in that song. I'm thinking on your question about the contrast between the two and the person left behind. And I think I was trying to capture her perspective and trying to capture that nuance of, you ain't no good, but you're all we got. We want you to come home, and also what you did is always going to be hard to forgive.
You really capture her grief. There's literally the bargaining, the depression, the anger, She goes through the stages in the song.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. How, I'm not sure if you learned anything other than when he died, but how long did he make it out there? You know, did he at least get a full life in, or was he cut down early and that's why he never said hi again?
No, he did. Yeah, I don't remember the exact age. That's a good question. All I know is that he was buried in the same town that he was born in, which is not where she grew up. She grew up in West Palm, Florida, and he was born and then buried in Adel, Georgia. And that's all that we know. And it's actually been really difficult to pick up any additional information. So I don't know if he was kind of a ghost after he left, or maybe ran off and had a whole other family. I have no idea. But he did live a whole life.
Well, the mystery remains. Well, let's hear about this character, and we will be right back.